All right. All right, Brendon, we are live.
What's happening? Welcome, I guess. Welcome back to both of us.
Yeah, yeah. We almost stayed, didn't we?
Yeah, for sure. So for those that don't know, Abe and I took a little bit of time off, and we're able to go get some R&R. We didn't do a lot of rest. I think we did more work than we thought we were going to do. Did some hiking, fishing, and kind of brings us to what we wanted to talk about. We talked about while we were there is we all need time to recharge. We all need time to get away and get out of our routine, but we want to do that not at the expense of coming back and screwing up your business. So we talked about some things when we were gone that maybe can help some people figure out before you go, what are some of the routines that you do to make sure that you are prepared to take time off? And then more importantly, when you get back, how do you get back into the groove so that maybe a 4 or 5 day break doesn't turn into an 8, 10, 14 day downturn in your business? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we had a great time. So that was a vacation, well needed. We had a blast. Went to Costa Rica. Like as Brendon said, we did some hiking, white water rafting, and I didn't drown. Right, so that was cool.
You didn't drown. I didn't wear sunscreen.
Yeah. So it worked out really well. But glad to be back. So yeah, I mean, this is a great topic, Brendon. Especially for me because I do a lot of traveling, and this is an area that I really always working on to try to improve, right? Because you don't want to come back and then have double and triple the work that you left with. So I think first and foremost, like before I take a trip, I like to make sure I prevent as many fires as possible from happening. Right. So what I mean by that is the first and foremost, I want to reach out to every one of my active clients and have a conversation with them a day or two before I leave. Okay, so reach out to them, have the conversation, see what they need, make sure that they're prepared. And I don't necessarily have to tell them I'm going out of the country or going out of town or whatever, but at least have a conversation with them so they don't all blow me up while I'm gone. So I think first and foremost, it's preventative, reaching out to your active clients, seeing what they need and making sure that they're on track. So that'll eliminate a lot of the phone calls. For me, I start there. Second, if there's any hot leads that I've been chasing, I try to get those the week before I leave town because I don't want to come back and call these people and find out they're listed with somebody else. So that's the second thing for me is chase down any hot leads, pin them down, or set some appointments for the time I get back. Those are the first two things that I start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it. And I definitely like the one where, given the taking the client factor out of it. So if you can have that communication beforehand, then hopefully you're not going to get the calls and everything while you're gone. And if you do, then have something in place where your admin or somebody is able to take those. One thing I would add is I always want, before I leave, I want to be able to make sure that that I've got some automation in place, that I'm ramping up, because I don't want to leave and be completely out of business. I'm not going to physically be making any contacts, but it doesn't mean that my business can't make contacts. So before I leave, I want to be able to ramp up some automation so that when I come back, then I've actually got things on my plate to do. And, part of that actually, it turned into a listing while I was gone. And, Remy and my team who was able to go and get the paperwork signed while I was gone. So if they weren't that urgent, then I would have had a listing appointment by the time I got back, but they were that urgent. And it all came from something that if I wouldn't have put that in place, then I would have showed up this week. At some point, they would have popped up and I would have found out, man, there's this guy I've been talking to and he already listed. So I think that's important. And then the other part that, when you get back, I just think it's so important that you're able to get back into the conversations really, really quickly. Because for those of you that are, consistent in making outbound, contacts, or your prospectors, then it doesn't take very many days to kind of get a little rusty in the conversation. So if, you've got some things set up ahead of time that force you back into those conversations, then you're going to be like, okay, now I'm back. If you just roll in and you haven't had any conversations about real estate, you haven't any conversations with sellers for 5 or 6 days, you're gonna feel like you're kind of back to that square one. So I like to jump in with some of my agents on my team or in one of the other offices and just check in with them where some challenges you've been having, and we role play. And role playing with another agent on a challenge that they're having gives me the opportunity to get back into those buyer and seller conversations. And then I'm like, all right, now when it's for real and I get into one with a client, I don't feel like I've been off for 5 days, 6 days.
Yeah, I love the automation part. I mean, for sure, if you can generate while you're gone, you can't beat that, because one of the hardest things is to build momentum. So when you've got momentum, and you go on vacation, you don't want that momentum to just all of a sudden stall. So I love the idea of running some automation while you're gone, generating some leads. Now, so when people respond to your automation, did you have somebody on your team, picking up the responses? Because I surely wasn't seeing you picking up the phone in Costa Rica.
No. Somebody was responding to those. So they were, if there was anybody that had any interest, then there was 2 levels. If it was somebody that could wait until I got back, then it would be going to Laura, who's my admin. If it was somebody that was more urgent and needed, maybe a conversation right now, needed to run comps and stuff like that, then it'd go to an agent that's on my team. Right. So there's a couple different levels depending on that. But I want to bring up that point. Like, for a long time when I left, I felt like I had to be completely like, no, I can't do anything, because if I'm halfway in work and halfway on vacation, then I'm not on either one of them. And I think there's some truth to that. But I also think that there's some value to, if nobody was doing anything and I'm on vacation with my family and they're not around, or they're all kind of doing something, there's no reason I don't maybe take a call. I don't need to completely unplug anymore, because that added stress to when I got back, I'm like, I feel like I'm out of the business. So you've got to kind of find what works for you. But I would say, if you're comfortable unplugging, don't unplug your business. Just you unplug from it and have some things in place that the business keeps going, the contacts keep happening, and the clients can be taken care of.
I think that was a great point, Brendon. So what I heard was it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to unplug, but you having the power of when you choose to plug in or when not to plug in, I think is big. I mean, that's very freeing. So you getting an inbound come list me call, I'll take those all day long, even if I am on vacation. Yeah. But if you get that current client that's on the market calling and asking why the unit hasn't shown in a couple of days, that's a completely different conversation. One I don't want to have on vacation. So that'd be a good bit of stress. So I think that's a great point. And then the rusty part, you're spot on. I mean, we've had thousands and thousands of conversations, and even just taking a week off and coming back in, I was fumbling my words this morning. The first couple of calls. It's funny how, no matter what level you are, no matter how many calls you've made, how many people you've spoken to, how quickly you get a little rusty. Yeah, that was interesting to see this morning.
Yeah. And, the other thing that actually came up, I remember probably on day 2 or 3, you had made the comment, if you are, if you feel like you're in a little bit of a rut, or you feel like maybe things aren't, you're kind of out of momentum, or things aren't happening as quickly as you want, take some time off, because when you leave and you get out of it, it is inevitable. You talk to anybody that's been in the business for more than a couple of years, you take some time off, and that's when everything happens. Business shows up, and there's no, there's no mystery about it. It's because you're opening up things, that you've done in the past. Momentum starts, and your head's clear, and things start flowing a little bit easier. So if you want to create some deals and some pendings, just leave town. Just make sure, if you're not going to be answering the phone, that you've got somebody to take care of the deals when they come in, because they show up.
I know, it never fails. I leave the country and all of a sudden things get busy. I had a funny incident happen over the weekend. So I think while we were gone, I think I put 5 properties under contract. I think 3 were sellers and 2 were buyers. So I had a funny thing happen. I listed a property, a condo, right before I left town. And I wasn't even sure it was going to hit the market yet, because we hadn't taken pictures yet. So the next thing I do, I get a text message from the seller saying, you know, hey Abe, hope you're doing well. What's next? Right. And I'm like, I texted back, well, next is we hit the market. I was thinking we just got pictures done, we're gonna be hitting the market. Then I find out later on that day that not only did my assistant get the pictures done, she hit the MLS. We got an offer, full price offer. It got accepted. So he was asking like, what's next? Now that we're on the contract. So I was like, oh crap, but it goes back to what you were saying. Like, if you plan this correctly, if you put everything in place to be able to take care of things while you're gone, just makes life a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks to Susan, by the way. I don't know if she's watching this or not. Susan Brown on my team. She was awesome. So she really took care of things while I was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So now what's next? Now we get back and generate some business, right?
Yeah. Well, now you get back and you generate some business, but then you plan the next outing, because these are things when time away is what we all got into this business for. It was, that's one of the goals, and being able to unplug, but it's not without some sacrifice, and you don't get to take a lot of the things that we want to do come from the hours that nobody sees. This is just more a conversation about when you get to that point where you're ready to go take some time, how do you make sure that you don't just completely ruin the momentum that you were mentioning earlier? And I think that's a critical part of enjoying the time when you're there.
Yeah, spot on. I'm already got my schedule booked, so I've got my next couple of trips already in line. So that's good. And
Awesome.
and here's an interesting part, right? So a lot of people, I know a lot of agents I talk to struggle with this. So like we don't have the time to travel. We're busy. We're constantly working. I actually like to look at it the opposite. I like to get ahead and book my travel, my vacations in advance. I do those first, and then that gives me a much more urgency. It lights a fire underneath me that when I'm not traveling, like I have to hustle, right? It creates that's what fires me up. That creates that urgency, that motivation for me to make sure I show up every single day and deliver, because you have to at that point.
Yeah. I thought when we're on our way back, you can look at it as the stuff you get to go do, the fun stuff, that when you come back, it's back to reality. Or you can look at it as when you go somewhere and you get to have fun and plan those things, make that your reality.
Yeah,
And then this is just what you do to power your reality. So instead of kind of like, oh my gosh, got to go back to the grind, you're back to reality. No, you just let your reality. This is just what powers it.
This is what feeds it. Yeah, I love that. All right, perfect. All right, well, thanks for your time, Brendon. We had a good time. If you guys haven't been to Costa Rica, definitely recommend. It's a great place to go. We went to Capos, Manuel Antonio. There's just so much to do. I mean, anything that you want to do, you could pretty much do: hiking, fishing, whitewater rafting, restaurants, anything that you want. Great place to go visit. If you guys surfing, if you're a surfer. So if you haven't been, definitely go check it out. Brendon, looking forward to the next trip, man.
You bet. You keep traveling, because you were a good planner on this one.
I'm not booking anymore. Next one's yours. You're booking the next one. All right, buddy. Have a good afternoon. Thank you all for watching.
See you.
All right, bye.